No Ludius. No way. Alright. So we're going to try this again. Hopefully, I don't lose power. And hopefully everything works. I've been doing some reading, a little bit of research, ran into town, got my hair cut this morning. I need to pull up my chat window somewhere. Boom. Cool. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. So, with that being said, I did some research on the old ZeroConf/MDNS. Yeah, it just doesn't appear to work, and I'm not the only one. There's like tons of people over the forums. I'm not going to bore you with the details. So we'll just get started. So I set up a dev environment, spun up a VM, because that's kind of what I'm comfortable with. That way I can just turn it off, and I don't have to worry about like what everybody sees, and I don't really care if you like see some password, but this is a fresh install. And on that note, I used these instructions. Either one, they're evidently both the same. So for installing Hasio on top of Ubuntu. So that's just what I chose. It's quick and easy. So clean install. We're going to start out. I'm going to try to tackle this kind of in order. So we're going to do either Pi-hole or DNS mask. If you don't want to use Pi-hole, that's fine. Although I did see in the chat just a minute ago that I guess Frank recommended AdGuard Home, and I know Asidwas said that it took him like 3 minutes to get the Docker container set up, so maybe, I didn't see that on Frank's roadmap, but maybe he's considering building an official community add-on. Ludius said he's staying out this time, so I caught him over in Discord. Anyway, I don't know, maybe we'll get an official add-on for AdGuard Home. Good. Glad to hear that. AdGuard looks pretty sweet. I just looked at it for a couple of minutes before I started streaming. Seems like there's some really good stuff in it. So I'm looking forward to that. I may try it out before Frank gets a Home Assistant Hasio add-on built. But without further ado, I think we ought to just go ahead and get started. So some of this may not work. I didn't do a lot of prep. I'm going to try to go back and trim this when I'm done, put some time markers in, so if people just want to see how you do a certain thing, no guarantees that any of this is going to work, but you know, we'll give it a go. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, I get it. Asidwa, yeah, Pi-hole is based on DNS mask, and so that's why I said either or. And I'll talk a little bit about why. So, yep, I'm with you. So in this case, Hasio is actually running on my desktop, which is a pretty beefy desktop. It's fairly new, so it's running in a virtual machine running on VMware Workstation. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, it's running on Ubuntu. So I didn't figure I'd start with that. But yeah, basically I just installed Ubuntu, and then there's some other junk commands in here, but and actually most of them I think I ran. Actually, I was sudoed in, so I won't be able to see those anyway. So let's get started. Unless I could have ran it on my Synology. Yeah. Thanks, Amelia. Yeah, so for those of you that missed it, VMware is actually my employer, so I tend to kind of gravitate that way because it helps me with work. And I actually just recently switched back over to a Windows desktop. I still have my trusty MacBook Pro, but so I'm having to kind of relearn some Windows stuff, and thought, install Workstation, give it a go. And eventually my plan is to rebuild my home lab, and then I'll use Workstation to manage my ESXi hosts, just for building VMs and stuff. Sometimes it's a little easier for lab stuff anyway. So AdGuard Home. Seedwall says he's got AdGuard Home set up, and Docker DNS. Now I just need to get this playing with NGINX Proxy Manager. Yeah, and I know another one that Frank's working on is NGINX Proxy Manager, and I saw you, I was watching you in the car earlier, while playing around with the Proxy Manager. That looks pretty cool because you can actually easily edit the config. So I'm looking forward to that one too. All right, so I've never installed Pi-hole, so we're going to see how this goes. I probably need to go down here to Community Add-ons and find it. Search might have been smart. There it is. All right, so let's see what happens. I'd hoped it would be a little bit quicker, but I have no idea what I'm even downloading at this point. While that's downloading, which it is done now, I've got the config page set up over here already, so looks like it's pretty simple. So you click the install button and then we go start it. So now that it's installed, we're going to have it set to start on boot. We typically don't use auto update, and protection mode is related to this rating and whether or not you need to disable that. I probably need to just double check the config here real quick. So password, let me see what that's all about. I did not see that on the community page. So anybody in the chat know what this password's for? Because I didn't see that when I was looking at it a minute ago. Update lists on start. I did see that. I don't know where I must have been looking at the GitHub page that had all of this stuff listed, because yeah, I was looking at the GitHub page because we're going to add something in right down here too. And actually, I saw Frank doing something the other day. I just wanted to check something. I thought there was a place. It's right here. System. Yeah, I just wanted to double check my host name. I know he was talking to Timo about the host name set here. So dev-has.io is the host name. So we'll flip back over to add-on store. Dashboard, because I've already got it installed. And before you start it, you probably want to edit these. I totally missed the password one. Full documentation's here, so let's just take a look at that real quick, because it did talk about. Okay. Yeah, so it does support secrets. All Frank's add-ons do. So I don't have a secrets file, but I may just go create one. It doesn't really matter. This is a dev environment. We'll use the CDWAS change me here. I know that this is what updates the list of ads as far as what URLs. And what I read in the documentation was that by default, the first time that you start Pi-hole, it will go and get the latest file regardless, and it will do, even if it's set to false, it's still going to go out. It just doesn't do it every time you restart has.io. So if you don't want to downloading or checking for new files every time you restart it, which certainly at the beginning of installing Home Assistant, we're going to be doing that quite a bit. So probably want to leave that to false. We've got our admin port for the container, the DNS port, which is what it's going to listen on, port 53. SSL is set to true, and I think I'm going to change that to false because I'm not going to expose this to the internet. If you're going to expose Pi-hole to the internet, you'd want to let that set to true. But I think the better way to do that would actually be kind of what Asidwa was working on earlier today, which is really the ability to hopefully at some point use the NGINX Proxy Manager. Then you can just have NGINX handle the requests for this add-on as well. So Ipv4 addresses, let's see what that is all about. Okay. Yeah. So that's, we're going to leave that blank, but the one that we are going to want to grab here is this optional host. And there should be an example down here somewhere, maybe. I thought I saw an example somewhere, because we definitely want to use sub option name. Okay, so here we go. This is what I was looking for. All right, so for those of you that missed it, I talked about SplitDNS and why you kind of need it, but I'm just going to rehash for those that are rejoining, and because I pretty much canned the old video. So here's what happens, and here's why we want SplitDNS. And this section right here is really what we're after. By default, when you're on your local network and you try to resolve your internal Home Assistant IP address, if you don't have an internal DNS server or you don't have Pi-hole, so at this point, pretty much everything I'm doing as far as it relates to this component around the hosts, you can also do with the DNS Mask add-on. So if you don't want to run Pi-hole for whatever reason, you can just install DNS Mask add-on. We're going to put a host entry in, and the host entry is going to be for our internal IP address of our home assistant. Because when we're on a LAN, we don't want to go out the internal interface and resolve an external IP, which would normally be whatever IP address you have exposed with, that you're forwarding port 443 on. But a lot of firewalls will not allow that. So the best way to do it is really to use SplitDNS. And so we're going to use, in this case, Pi-hole for the internal DNS server. And then we're going to use DuckDNS for the external DNS server. And those two DNS servers will have different IP addresses in them. It doesn't matter what the IP address is as it relates to SSL certificates. If you've been getting warnings or pop-ups when you go to Home Assistant internally, it's probably because you're using a different name, or maybe by some chance the ZeroConf or the MDNS stuff is working for you, and so hasio.local works. But then you install NGINX and it does a redirect to port 443, and the certificate name doesn't match the URL that you put in, and that's why you get the pop-ups typically. So hopefully when we get done with this, we won't get any pop-ups. Everything will just work. It'll all be good to go. So, all right. So what we're going to put in is under this host field, and I'm going to go back here, and just to get the syntax right, I probably need to grab all of this. We're just going to put one in for now, but just know that you can add hosts for really pretty much any any internal system that you don't want to have to remember the IP address for, assuming it has some kind of static IP address, then you could put those entries into here. So here we go. See if I can't get this right. And I don't know if that really matters, if that's, yeah, probably needs to be spaced a little bit better. I think I need to move that over. Okay, so we're going to change this to our DuckDNS name. So in this case, I think I called it the same thing, dev-io.duckdns.org. And this IP address will be our internal IP address, 10, in my case, 10.10.200.220. Okay? So this part here would be whatever name you would plan on registering with DuckDNS and whatever your internal IP address is. We're going to save these changes. And then we're going to go up here and we're going to start Pi-hole. And hopefully everything... yeah, and it's warning me. So by the way, it's warning me that the password is in the I've been pwned database because it was changed me. So it's trying to keep me from hurting myself, shooting myself in the foot. So I don't really care about the password for the purposes of this, and if I do, I can just go copy and paste it. So we'll just save that. So your password will have to meet some better requirements. Now we got to do a restart because it did not start, right? It sent all processes the termination signal. So they all got terminated. So let's see what happens this time. Oh, I wonder why I got that. Interesting. So, for some reason, DNS appears to be running on my Ubuntu install, and I did not know that. And I don't know if that's because of ZeroConf. Yeah, I just realized I screwed something up. So, we're going to make a slight detour here, because I was trying to make ZeroConf work, and I couldn't get it to work. And so I think ZeroConf's listening on port 443. So, yeah, I know. I needed, maybe, I don't know. Listen interface. Are you talking about, well, I'm surprised that I have, it may, but I think what yeah, so obviously something is definitely listening on port 53, and I'm hoping that it's because I enabled, and you guys probably can't see that. Let me pull this up a little bit. I think it's because I enabled ZeroConf, so I'm just doing, I know I got that wrong. Yeah, I put this ZeroConf line in here, trying to get the ZeroConf/MDNS stuff to work, and yeah, it don't work. So at least it didn't work for me. So I was trying to make that work because I thought, well, maybe that'll be easier. And then when I thought maybe it would be easier, but then when I dug into doing Pi-hole, I was like, this won't be that bad. All right, so we go back over here. Let's see if that was it. Amelia, I don't know. I don't think the default Ubuntu has a DNS server installed, so I didn't actually restart there. Sorry. Okay. I'm probably going to need to restart this because it's still trying to create. I mean, you can see it's not happy. So let's see what happens. I may just go ahead and stop this for now for a minute, and we'll wait on a connection to come back, and let's try restart. Well, I was wrong. Something else is listening on port 53. Doesn't show me a PID that's listening, and it's localhost. What the heck is that? Really? Well, it wasn't that mine wasn't working. Here's the crazy part, and I'm already here, and I got to figure out what the heck's going on anyway. It's actually like, I mean, there's all kinds of MDNS stuff going on my network, and you can see, like, here's my other Home Assistant. This is my real Home Assistant instance. But when I try to resolve that, yeah, it does not work. Like, I tried it on my Windows box. I tried it on this Linux Ubuntu box. I tried it on my Mac. And they're all on the same Wi-Fi, so Yep. Yeah, Amelia's is working. Lucky her. But even though I got to thinking about it, even with MDNS, the problem is that it's using hash.local, and most people want some externally resolvable DNS name. So I think it also adds one for whatever the base URL. It should. I think if you try to resolve your base URL, it should use MDNS to resolve that too. But for me, I couldn't get it to work, and I thought, well, if it doesn't, I just thought, well, it's not going to work. But I got to figure out, more importantly, what is listening on port 53 that I need to kill. So that is awfully odd. I don't have anything else. And it doesn't show me the PID, so I wonder if surely there's not some other container. I don't have any. I realize you guys probably can't see that. I was just trying to list the containers here. I don't understand why that's really. Well, thanks for the heads up there, Osidwa. No, I'm just kidding. I appreciate it, man. Let's see. There's got to be something. There's got to be some reason. Yeah, there's something. I mean, this is a brand new clean install. And what Frank was saying was, I was just reading. That was probably this from March. That's pretty old. That's 9 months old. But this is the only add-on that I have installed. Yes. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, don't. There's. That's what I'm saying. Like, it was a brand new build of Ubuntu 18 and. I ran Frank scripts to install Hass.io, so this is good. People, see what really happens. But I'm trying to figure out how I determine. Let's try this. Let's just see. I want to stop this. Oh. Yeah, I did use 1804. Yeah. Let me see what... you probably are correct. Let's see. Let's see. I didn't know it had... Oh, it's got some systemd resolver. Gee whiz. Yeah, that's probably it. Stupid thing. Yeah, I agree. Like, why would you do that? That's what happens when like distros get really popular. They start trying to add all this stuff in to help people. Then put the following in the main line, network conf manager, and then delete, and then restart the network manager. Let's just see if it... Hey, the DNS resolver's gone. Woo! Yeah, well, you know, it's all learning though. I'm okay. If somebody else is installing on Ubuntu, now they know. You got to go figure out how to disable the systemd resolver service. So let's give this another go. Yeah, I will absolutely give you a link to that. That's good. Great idea. And I'm going to put it in the links for the show notes. So hopefully, if I actually go back and edit it, then I will have it. All right. So, hey, looky there. All right. So, oops. So oh yeah, this was why that MDNS thing was probably doing what it was doing. Let me pull this up. So my name server, so I guess again, this is some kind of crazy Ubuntu thing. It was using localhost for name resolution. Wow. So we probably want to... So for the purposes of this, just for testing, I'm going to set it to use the pie hole for name resolution. So this was the part I was waiting to make sure of, was that the server that actually responded to my dig request was the pie hole. So at this point, pie hole's working. Well, it's resolving DNS, and we should be able to do this as well. Yeah, okay. So here's the second money shot. So again, this is my Ubuntu host. I wanted to make sure that Pi-hole was resolving the dev_hasio.duckdns to the internal IP address. So this is kind of step one. Then I went ahead and pre-configured the DuckDNS server, so I'm not sure what the flag is to use a different server here, because I grew up on NSLookup, and so I don't do a lot of digging anymore. Host, domain, global server. If I want to specify a server, a different DNS server to use for dig, I don't think NSLookup's... Oh no, it's still there. Did I call it something different? Dadgummit. I've got it pulled up over here. Oh, I know. That's why I did, yeah. I called it this. All right, so I need to go change that in my host file. Well, I might be able to get away with putting this dev hasio into duckDNS. Let's see if it will let me try it. Dev _ hasio. I figured that was already taken, so let's see. Oh, I think my session timed out. All right. It won't take that. Okay, so I need to make one other change. So, cool. Yeah, and it thinks that's what the IP address is, but I'm actually going to change that. So, this is my external IP address, by the way. So what I'm going to do just to show this completely working is I'm going to go up here and edit this config, and I'm going to change this to a dash because duckDNS did not like the underscore. So we changed the config. I saved it. We've got to restart. All right. So restart. And let me pull this up. Okay, there it is, external. Now I'm changing my DNS server. Again, this is just for testing. Now I'm telling NS lookup, hey, go back to this other server for name resolution. So now if I do dev hasio.duckdns.org, I get the internal IP. So here it is. This is the key thing that we're after. So when we're not at home, we want it to resolve to the external IP, and I didn't quite have that, which is right here. When we're on the home network, we want it to resolve to the internal IP. So, step 1 complete. Cool? All right. So, next up. So I'm going to close this Pi-hole stuff. We're going to go back to the hasio add-ons. I'm going to close this and this. And again, everything I just showed you with Pi-hole, you could do with DNS mask. Like, it's just pretty. Literally, the syntax changes here just a little bit for the host, but outside of that, it's doing the same thing because Pi-hole's built on top of DNS mask. So, all right, next up is Let's Encrypt. So I figured I'd just go ahead and include this too. And I haven't actually used this plugin, I don't think, before. By the way, so. Well, yeah, I can actually, let me scratch that. I'm going to go ahead and try it with the duckDNS add-on because that's what most people are going to want to do. I have a little bit different config. This is dev environment anyway, so we're good. So if you notice, if you go to Let's Encrypt, it says, hey, if you're going to use duckDNS, you should just use duckDNS. That add-on is integrated. The Let's Encrypt add-on is integrated. So we will go over here to duckDNS and back here, add-on store. I don't know if that's surely that's not the community. There's not a community version of duckDNS, is there? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. All right, so duckDNS. Let's go ahead and go there. I think we were already there, but just for the sake. All right, so not possible to deactivate port 80. If you need this for things like emulated hue, remove the host port from the network options of this add-on. It's good to know. Yeah, okay. So let's click the install. And I'm going to have to take a bio break here in just a minute because I have drank like this whole cup of water. And it is catching up with me. And I lost my chat window. Amelia. It's so awesome. All right, she saved me again. And I was going to put this in the notes. So you are correct, Amelia. There was one massive step that I forgot I failed to mention as it relates to Pi-hole. In order for any of your devices internally to be able to resolve the internal host that we added to Pi-hole, as well as to take advantage of Pi-hole or DNS mask, you need to go change your DHCP config, and you need to change specifically the DNS server that it hands out to your internal clients. And you want to change, typically the DNS servers, a lot of people use Google, a lot of people use OpenDNS. So long story short, you want to change that to point to your Raspberry Pi or whatever, however you're running Home Assistant / Pi-hole should now become your DNS server. And my recommendation is that there's typically a spot for you to hand out 2 DNS servers. This is my own recommendation, and I'm open to suggestions, but I usually list one internal DNS server, and then I list one reliable external DNS server. So like an 8.8.8.8 for Google, or, the ones I were using earlier were 4.2.2.2. They're just easy to remember. I think it's even 1.1.1.1 is available now. Don't hold me to that one. But the reason I list the second one is if you're doing something with Home Assistant and you reboot it or you take it down and that's your DNS server, all your potential family members internally are going to be a little upset because their internet, you broke the internet at that point. So it's always good to use a secondary DNS server that's something external. That way, like I say, if you're doing maintenance or something happens, the request will get, resolved at some point. So. And Asidwa says, 1.1.1.1 for Cloudflare and also 1001. Right. Well, so Windows machines will do round robin select, but you still have to have the second DNS server defined in the DHCP options. So unless I'm missing something, because if you're saying because Pi-hole's already got a forwarder defined. So by the way, Pi-hole's not resolving the entire internet for you. It's basically taking all the ads and, I don't know, I don't know anything about it, but essentially it's returning no IP address so that those URLs don't show up, but it still has to forward all the real legitimate requests to some server on the internet. And I don't know what server Pi-hole uses for DNS resolution, but so Amelia, let me know if I'm wrong, because typically you have 2 DNS servers defined. By the way, if you have static IP addresses on devices, okay. So you're saying, if that's true, and I could be wrong, I thought that it would try the first server in the DHCP scope options first, and then it would go to the second one. What Amelia is telling me is that Windows machine will round robin, so maybe that's specific to Windows. Yeah, okay. So if that's the case, which I'm sure Amelia's right, so again, not going to challenge her. Thanks for the tip. It sounds like you don't want to use another address, so that could create some problems for you. So she's saying use the same address. Don't use a different address like I do, because it will round robin and give you different results. So on Windows, and that could explain some weird things I've seen going on. Anyway, all right. So let's try this whole Let's Encrypt DuckDNS thing. Did I get that installed? Oh, I did. So I need to accept the terms. There's a cert key, and then I have to insert my token, which should be pretty easy. And you guys can see it. You're going to see it, and I don't really care because this is not exposed to the internet, and I don't port forward anything internally. I just don't do that. So you're going to see it. You're going to own my token. And I need to change. Needs to be in quotes. We're going to accept the terms, whatever those happen to be. We got to put a domain in. And this is going to be the domain name that I used earlier, which is the dev-hasio. All right, so let's see if we can't break this one next. We didn't have a successful first start on Pi-hole, but if you were on Raspberry Pi, you would have never run into that, by the way. And we're going to refresh the logs. And away we go. And it's creating SSL certs. And it's still going. It's requesting the certificate. And it's creating a PIM file. And it's done. And I think we're done. Okay. Yeah. So, thanks, Amelia. Yeah, my point is that you should have 2 IPs, ideally. You want some redundancy, but, if you're okay with the internet being down, if your Raspberry Pi's down, by all means, go ahead. So, however you want to do that. So, all right, cool. So that looked like that worked. So I think at this point we have DuckDNS, we have a certificate, we have our internal DNS server with Pi-hole, and the only thing left is going to be NGINX. And I'm just debating whether I'm going to take a quick bio break, and by quick I mean like really quick. The restroom's right behind me, so I think I'm going to pause for just a second, take a bio break, and I'm going to come back and do NGINX because I'm about to float a filling out at this point. So I'll be right back.
So I said, no, it was supposed to be my pentakill. Why did you do that to me? I killed, I know, 1, 2, 3 for champions. I can't believe you're trolling. No, it was supposed to be my pentakill. Why did you do that to me? I killed, I know, 1, 2, 3 for champions. I can't believe you're trolling.
Wait a minute!
So I said, no, it was supposed to be my pentakill. Why did you do that to me? I killed, I know, 1, 2, 3 for champions. I can't believe you're trolling. No, it was supposed to be my pentakill.
All right. I'm back. And Sidwell, I just saw your question or message in Discord. Are you good with SplitDNS? Like, you have a better idea of what I mean when I say that? Basically, internal DNS server versus some public external DNS server. Just let me know if we're good there or if I need to rehash that, because I'm happy to do it. And we have Amelia here, or Emmy, whichever one she prefers. No, I'm sorry, man. No, my bad. No, SplitDNS is... Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's just... the ability to give two different IP addresses based on a network, internal network versus the public internet. So hopefully that's clear as mud. All right, let's do this. NGINX coming up. And hopefully it works. So we're going to have to change our domain name. The cert file is already there, thanks to the DuckDNS and Let's Encrypt add-on. Yeah. Sorry about that. So, and then we're not going to mess with any of this right here. Bind. It means it has been around for a while. All right, cool. Let's do it. Try to keep this thing short. What are we at, like maybe 45, 50 minutes? I don't know. I don't know if it tells me. Okay. Let me close that. So we're going to go back to the add-ons. And I was just making sure there is no... I don't see anything else. All right, cool. So, NGINX. We're going to click the install button. Okay. If you want help, you can click this. Actually, let me go ahead and close the DuckDNS. I think we're done with that. And I'll just close that one for the sake of making sure that this link works right. Okay. Issue section. Okay, so let me just check my config. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and just, there's one other add-on I just want to add, and mainly before I do this, because we're having to, we're getting to the point where I have to start, maybe looking at our config file. So this is another really handy add-on. I'm just going to do this for the dev environment instead of creating a file share that constantly disconnects every time I power off this VM. So I'm going to use a Cloud9 IDE to look at the config files. So we're going to install that real quick and walk through it. Hey, Sai, welcome to the live stream. Yeah, Tiny DNS was pretty cool too. I mean, I cut my teeth on some old AIX DNS back in the day. AIX integrated with Windows 2000 Active Directory DNS. It was kind of fun. I learned a lot about DNS, but I'm still not an expert. And I forgot about Windows round robining. It started to come back to me. I was having some nightmares there. So I'm doing great. I think we're making good progress. We got hung up a little bit because this is a dev HAS.io environment that's just running on a VMware workstation on my local machine. And I installed it on top of Ubuntu, and Ubuntu has some crazy service service D resolver that runs and takes up port 53. So once I figured that out and removed it and got rid of that, then we got Pi-hole set up for DNS mask locally, internal DNS name resolution, and now we're moving on to, we did DNS, duck DNS with Let's Encrypt. So yeah, well, me too, a Sidwa. So yeah. Yeah. Well, Sai, so I know you just got here. I'll go ahead and post this in here just for future reference. I'm with you. I think Ubuntu, sometimes I think they've gotten maybe a little too mainstream, and so they try to do stuff that it's just they're trying to appeal to the masses, and so by doing that, they're enabling services that aren't typically enabled. So. At any rate, whatever. It is what it is. And I'm sure they've got some crazy workaround on, oh, well, no, it will work just fine if you would have done A, B, and C. But the fact that they have some crazy service consuming DNS port on my server that I don't know anything about, yeah, I'm out. So, but I did find a workaround. I pasted it in the chat, and I'll put it in the stream notes. So, okay. I need this because I'm tired of executing a Docker command to get into the shell to look at the config every time I want to do it. We're going to set this to false because I'm not going to use SSL internally, and that makes it easier. This add-on uses OAuth, so we don't even have to put a password in here, which is kind of awesome. So I think that's all we need to change. I'm not going to put any packages or init commands or any of that stuff, so we're going to go fire it off and see if it breaks. Okay, well, it says it's done. Let's open the web UI. Cool. All right. So that worked. I just logged in with my Home Assistant credentials, the same ones that I created when I first installed Home Assistant. So whatever you use to log into Home Assistant, that's what you'd use there. And we're going to go to config. And Frank was telling us we needed to check something in config.yaml. And this is all like, this config should be pretty fresh. So I haven't done anything to it. So he's saying that we want to check the HTTP section and make sure that we remove SSL certificates and the key, and that we don't have a port defined on the base URL. So if you've got an existing install, those are the 3 things you need to make sure of. So we're going to go down here to HTTP. If it even exists, it may not even be there because this is a fresh install. Yep, and I don't see it. So it looks like it's not there by default. So if you've added an HTTP statement to your config.yaml, then you will need to do those 3 items that are listed right here. It's important, or you're going to get an error. And you're going to be like, what happened? Okay. So, back to NGINX. So we got to put our domain in here. And this says domain. Yeah. Well, yeah. What did I call this thing? Has. Jeez, I don't even remember. It's right there. No, I didn't call it has. I called it dev has.io.duckdns.org. So hopefully this is becoming clear now. This should be all that we need to put in here. So the same DNS name that we put in Pi-hole or DNS mask, the same DNS name that we registered on DuckDNS. So all that matches. Let's see if we get like a good run first go. It may not work. We'll see. Yeah, Fedora's pretty good. I think I got my RHCE at some point. I don't know. It was like 4, maybe 3 or 4. I think it's expired. It's long gone. Okay. Oh, but you know what I didn't do? Well, that's fine. You can leave port 80. That's fine. Okay. So I'm probably going to have to change my Windows DNS resolution to actually show you that all this stuff's working. As I mentioned, I don't expose DNS. I don't open any ports on my firewall, so I'm certainly not going to be able to show you that, and I don't have an external connection. But just know that, like, at this point, it should be good to go. We didn't get any errors. We're going to test it internally first, but I'm gonna show you on my Windows box. So I got to change my DNS server, hopefully. I'm kind of. So I don't have a static IP address, but just know that even if you don't, you can still always go in here and force it. But so this is what you would want to have hand out. And this alternate DNS server is what Emmy was saying. If you put it in there, then it's going to round robin between whatever you put here and here. So, and I didn't have a chance to go read the actual notes that she posted a link in the chat. So I think that's all I need to do. And I'm going to leave these windows. It's not going to let me do that. I'll have to get rid of this. So we're going to cross our fingers. And actually, before I do that, let's just make sure that... Oh, jeez. Oh, you can see that it changed the default server for me because I changed it in my DNS server. So it should totally resolve. And I mean, it knows what the host name is already. So we should be good. So if we go here to devhasio.duckdns.org, and the crowds go wild. So you'll notice I didn't put in HTTPS. So NGINX is listening on port 80. And it does a permanent redirect. And this totally kicked my butt the other day. And I asked Frank about it, and he says, no, it shouldn't be temporary. Whatever. Okay. But just know that by default, NGINX puts a permanent redirect for your host name on port 80 to redirect it to SSL. And you have to clear your browser cache. That's the only way that it goes away. Like, you could go back to the NGINX config and take the port 80 out, and it won't, it's not going to do a darn thing because your browser's still going to have that. And if you look at, well, I won't even worry. Just know that it's a permanent redirect, and it works. And this would work externally too, right? Like if, and I can log in, I guess, so you guys can actually see it. Ooh, sure, why not? Okay, so here we are. And you can see it's auto-discovering all my other MDNS devices. All right. So, let's go back to chat because I haven't paid attention. So, okay, so Amelia brings up another point. So, I'm not familiar with WireGuard, but here's my question, Amelia, and maybe you're probably going to have a quick answer for this, but this is the challenge. And not just this, but, you know, this or this, right? The list goes on, like, you know, this. So, like, do you really want to put in a VPN connection for every device you own? Maybe you do. I don't know. Like, I don't know how easy it is to configure with WireGuard, right? Does WireGuard make it easy? So X-Forward 4. Yeah, I don't think that is, let's see. I don't think it's configured here, Emmy. I need to go look at the GitHub page, the repo. I don't want to edit that GitHub page. I want the hasio NGINX GitHub page. Oh, it's not the community. It's the official add-ons. Actually, I could probably just go this. Right, you guys are spot on. That's the Has. Are those the community add-ons or are those the hasio add-ons? Oh yeah, here we go. NGINX. Okay, so here is what the full config file looks like. And by the way, the 301 that I was talking about is right here. I'm sure you have him, Amelia. So X-Forward 4 is typically what would do that, I think. No, it is there. They're setting the header right here. I'm trying to think of how I can go. I don't have my. Well, it doesn't matter. Are there logs? I'd have to. The default log level. The default is probably pretty low. I probably have to crank up the log level on NGINX. But you did see it, right? Like X-Forward 4 is there, so. I'm struggling to type. Hey. Amelia, you just said you use WireGuard. I'm a little lost, and maybe I don't understand what you're trying to do. So, are you trying to when you say filtering? I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about on filtering for hasio. If you're talking about you're talking about the invalid login attempts. Is this the one? Oh, yeah. So good point, Amelia. Yeah, I guess I don't really have a need to block anything internally, and but yeah, could be a problem. But I don't know how many people want to block the IP. But I could see your point. Hopefully, Frank will get that NGINX proxy manager wrapped up soon, and then it'll be somewhat easy. Because writing NGINX confs, it's not extremely difficult, but it's not like not something I want to spend my time doing. That's the thing. A lot of this stuff, like, yeah, okay, I want to really spend my time writing all those rules out when I could just go in a UI and plug in a couple things that I want, and not have to worry about syntax. Yeah, sometimes, I don't know. If I was doing it like at scale, enterprise level, yeah, totally different story, right? I get it, but for me, playing around at home, I don't want to spend my time writing NGINX confs, so I'm with you, though. But I still don't understand where you put it. I don't know where you block IPs in HAS.io anyway. I mean, I don't know what that feature is. Is that the ban IP? Yeah, I think it's right here. It's part of the HTTP config. Oh, and wait. What is this? So, oh yeah, but okay. And I know there's a delay in the stream. My apologies. This says that you can use X4 for parsing. So maybe I'm confused on what it is you're trying to do. I don't know. Cool. All right. It's 8 o'clock here. I know it's late where you're at, Amelia. Jeez, it's like, do you ever sleep? It's got to be like 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm pretty sure. I'm real sure. +7. I think you're the same time zone as Frank. So 4, 3, yeah, 3 in the morning. I was up till 2 last night, but I slept in a little bit this morning. Cool. All right. Sai, you still there? You hanging out with us? Did you leave me? Hopefully, this was good for somebody. At least maybe 3 or 4 people. Cool. All right. Well, unless you guys have anything else, I'm going to wrap it up. What time do we start? 18:45. Yeah, hour and 15 minutes. That's not bad for... We ran in a couple snags, and I know it was late, Amelia. I appreciate all the help. That was awesome. It feels good to finally get something done. So I just figured it's easier to set up a dev environment, and then hopefully it'll be more like what everybody else is used to and running. So we'll see. Well, I just stumbled on it, so it wasn't anything that I knew. All right, cool. Well, I think I'm going to sign off and go eat something, hang out with my better half. So I'll try to clean this up tomorrow, put some markers in, maybe figure out how to condense it down. That's what I forgot to check. I hope that Streamlabs saved this stuff somewhere locally, so it'd be a little easier to edit instead of using the YouTube editor, but whatever. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining, Amelia, Siwa, Sai, whoever else is still out there. I appreciate the support. Hopefully it was beneficial for you guys. I really enjoyed it. I think so. Unless you got something else you want to do, tell me. What do you want to do?
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Oh, look. Alexa, be quiet. Anything else, Amelia? I got a dev instance. We can break it all you want. Oh, I did forget to tell. I was going to take a snapshot before I started, though. And I didn't. Darn. Dang it. Yeah, I had to fight with Windows on that too. That was kind of a pain. Windows 10. Jeez, I'm about ready to go buy a Mac Pro. Just give me my bash shell back. So, anyway, cool. All right. Well, I was hoping to do a snapshot so I'd have a clean install to go back to, but I didn't do enough for it to really probably be good for me to walk through it. Maybe I'll just record it locally and walk through it, and that'll be easier than trying to edit and adjust it. Uh-oh, Amelia has a gift. She's going to give us some topic. Yeah, I'm open to topics for the next stream. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but I'm open to suggestions for topics. Ah, yes, that. I did want to check that out. How do you even follow this flow? Like, you know, it's bad when your flowchart has to reference a completely other flowchart. That's in the part 3. DNS name resolution, check cache, successful, no. Query first. Yeah, but this is... See, this is what I was saying, Amelia. Like, I'm with you, but like... So unless I'm missing something here, it's saying it's going to query the first server on the list. And if it gets a response, then it adds it to the cache with a return response. I don't see the part where it talks about... Maybe I didn't get to the right section. Amelia's breaking out the PCAPs. You bust a PCAP in them. All right. I think I'm going to sign off for real this time. I enjoyed it. It was awesome. Thanks, everybody.